I believe Paul Saladino is wrong.
Judy Cho recently did this video basically explaining why and how Paul Saladino has been extremely contradictory over the years.
There are zero studies. I do think that all humans benefit from some carbohydrates, but the medical literature says otherwise very clearly.
And she did this deep analysis into his blood work.
But his DHEA is actually very low.
And how essentially there's certain factors that contradict themselves. Firstly, I just want to say that I respect both of these individuals. I respect Paul for having the courage to change his mind, which is something very rare in today's society, especially if you're an esteemed doctor. And I also respect Judy Cho for sticking to her authenticity and healing people that may not be like Paul Saladino or may not resonate with him as a person or his brand in the animal-based community.
In studies in diabetics, giving them honey actually improves insulin sensitivity.
So the first reason why I agree with Judy Cho is Paul has this tendency to use studies.
There are so many studies showing that things like
to move people. In much of his content now, he's got these little studies that pop up.
Honey raises testosterone, honey improves the gut microbiome.
And you don't think too much about it, but because he's a doctor, a well-respected physician, an MD, you don't take the time to actually look into the studies. And that's exactly what Judy Cho has done. And what she has found is a lot of these studies are funded by big food. A lot of these studies have conflicts of interest. And I think that's a massive red flag.
This is my animal-based day of eating, pre-serve.
Reason number two as to why I agree with Judy Cho is that Paul is somebody who literally spends all day outside surfing, living this magical life. He's financially stable, which is a big thing.
It hasn't always been this way for me. Throughout medical school, college, residency, I struggled with my own autoimmune conditions, eczema and asthma.
The biggest problem he's quoted having is eczema. He hasn't suffered with insane weight gain or depression or seriously debilitating diseases that require something like the carnivore diet as a tool to fix these diseases. You have a big influence on the world, and maybe not dissecting things in the way that they need to be dissected is a big problem. I feel like Paul has got wrapped up in this content creation at all costs mentality, and I think he's trading that for the true authenticity of long, nuanced conversations around the topic. And this beautifully leads on to the next reason why I think Paul is wrong, is that he doesn't really mention this, and if he has and I've not seen it, my apologies in advance, but the carnivore diet is a tool. And I feel like he's dismissing a lot of the effects just due to his personal experience. But like any tool, and this is the caveat, like any tool, if you use a tool too long or for a purpose that it's not designed for, the thing you are trying to fix will break. So if you are using the carnivore diet way past its due and you are healed and now it's become this religious type thing that's in your life, and you are now essentially being Aiken of a vegan telling people to never eat meat again, then it's gone too far. Then the tool has ceased to serve its purpose. So the carnivore diet is a tool. It's a tool to heal. But your end goal should just be to be happy, to have social connections, to not let your diet define you as a person and not let it interfere with the complexities and the beautiful life that's out there.
Now, studies are the ideal way to get evidence-based research, but it is also important to see it in clinical practice. We have worked with over 2,000 carnivore clients and patients.
And reason number four is that as far as I can tell, Paul Saladino doesn't work one-on-one with clients. He's creating content that actually appeals to naturally and metabolically healthy individuals who are actually just looking to jump onto the next fad or buy his very expensive organ supplements.
This is why you should be eating honey.
Finally, I just want to mention the last reason why is that, he puts fruit on this pedestal, and specifically he puts honey on this pedestal. And I'm not saying honey is bad, but context is everything. I have found as an individual myself, if I overeat honey or overeat fruit, I gain weight because in my formative years, I was very overweight. I was very addicted to food. The way I eat now is I primarily eat animal-based. So it's a very low-carb breakfast of mainly eggs and maybe a bit of cheese and avo. And then for dinner, I will have a steak with maybe more egg or some more avo or maybe some olives on the side. And then finally, at the very end of the day, after my meal, I will have a dessert, which is yogurt and berries or kefir or something that's dairy related. And sometimes I'll have honey with that, but I won't pour honey on everything that I can get my hands on, just simply because it just doesn't really make me feel that great, to be honest with you. And when I do have it, it's after an intense training session. But the idea is that me as a person, I don't necessarily align with shoving my diet full of honey all the time. But that's just me, and it may work for you. It obviously works for Paul. But if you are morbidly sick, have insane amounts of autoimmune issues, are very overweight, honey is probably the last thing that you're going to need in your diet. So since stitching together the edit, I have gone into the YouTube video that Judy did, and I saw Paul actually did comment, and kudos to him for commenting. I wouldn't expect anything less. I mean, this is not some this is not some weird feud between like evil people and corporations. No, they both want the same thing. They want healthy individuals in a healthy society. And I believe Paul wants that. I believe Judy wants that. I just kind of believe there's a bit of like lost in translation between the two. And I feel like, maybe a long nuanced podcast on the topic is something that needs to be done. But having said that, I also don't think Judy Cho needs to go on Paul's podcast. He does this a lot where he will just tell people, hey, come on my podcast. But the thing is, Judy's doing this for two reasons. One, she's doing this to show, or she's doing the video to show how contradictory Paul can be. And two, she's doing this to prove that you can pretty much take any study and you can prove your hypothesis. And that just shows you how corrupt and misled a lot of these studies are, because they are being funded by people that have certain agendas and certain outcomes that they want to publish. So having really good studies is a very, very rare thing. The most important thing is, as Judy says, clinical practice and what actually works instead of what a study tells you works. Again, I just want to say that this video is not about me berating Paul or thinking that he's less than or thinking that Judy Cho is better than him. It's actually just about laying the facts, so to speak, on the table and just laying the groundwork for you to come up in your mind what's going to work best for you, and thinking about the context of where a lot of the content is coming from that you're watching, because it's super, super important that you listen to your intuition and maybe just take everything that everyone says, including me, with a grain of salt and come up with your own plan, because that's probably the best plan. That's the plan that you're going to stick to, because not somebody else is giving it to you. You are coming up with it yourself. Thanks once again for watching. It's an honor to walk this path with you. I will see you in the next episode. Cheers for now.